Thanks very much. Can I thank Mr. Mamby for what was an incredibly comprehensive examination of all the different laws, legal structures, conventions and all the rest of it. I think it's a tremendous, it'll be a treasure store of points to follow up. But I also think that it made some very powerful points which we ought to understand, which I'm not sure Mr. Mamby would agree with, but I'll make my point. I want to make 3 points. I question the value of effectiveness of international conventions that pretend to do what they can't deliver. The Convention on the Rights of the Child is not protecting children who were tapping on the taxi window as you drive through Hyderabad, for instance. So does a convention deliver on the ground? And that's a question as much in the real world as it is in the cyber world. We have to ask, if we pass laws, will they actually do anything? Or will they, as in my quote earlier for Given, be laws that fail to prevent what they forbid? The second thing is that I think that address showed us while a legalistic approach won't work, each country has to sort out its law. For instance, if there are countries which John Carr mentioned, which don't ban child abuse, they need to have a law that bans child abuse. Then protection against intermediate liability may be necessary for some issues, but it isn't for eradicating child abuse as long as child abuse is illegal. The third point is that the UK approach, I want to underline, is not self-regulation. It's cooperative regulation where the government, the law enforcement agencies, the ISPs and civil society and parliamentarians all agree to an approach that actually prevents, and ISPs accept that they should prevent access to something that is illegal. The wider question that I want to pose, though, is whether we should even use the term e-crime. I suggest that the term cyber law is something that we should be very careful of adopting. E-defamation, e-theft, e-child abuse. I'd like to paraphrase the quote which is still up there from the ITU. What is true offline is unfortunately also true online, and to put it another way, what is wrong offline is wrong online. It doesn't need to be a new set of wrongs. So I suggest that e-crime and cybercrime are misleading terms. So is e-fraud. If a thief uses the path to my house to break into my house, we don't call it pathway theft or pathway burglary. If a motorway is used to reach a town where a criminal commits a fraud, it isn't a motorway fraud. So talking about e-crime is shorthand for crime that uses the internet, but it's misled people into thinking that it's a different sort of crime. And I believe that perhaps we should abandon the use of the term e-crime and instead use the more clumsy but accurate terminology internet-related crime, or crimes committed making use of the internet. And the reason that it's important is that when we talk about e-crime, it lulls people, including officials and lawyers and police and ministers and MPs, into thinking about it's about the technology. Well, as Bill Clinton didn't say, but might have said, it's not about the technology, it's about the people, stupid.
Thank you. Adam, you may want to comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll start my comment with just to support my colleagues here who say that we can use the Korean mode when you talk of ISP liability. But this our honorable member of parliament from UK has raised really key issues, key legal issues that need to be considered when we are trying to come up with an international framework that will address whether e-crime or cybercrime. And it's very important, as you say, that we have to be careful. We can say, we have to come up with the word, proper word. Should we say e-crime? Because now we have e-crime, you have m-crime. Things are always coming up. For instance, there was one case I was reading, it is the UK case, on the question of definition of theft, as we mentioned, definition of theft, under the existing laws, it was a problem. Because if you read the word theft, they will always say someone is committing an offense if he permanently deprives someone's property. The word permanently. They always use the word permanently, depriving someone's property. But now it's possible for someone to steal your property without permanently depriving you. Can that amount to theft? So those are the issues to be considered. Because you can just use any device to steal someone's property. Not only property, even, for instance, even money. Someone can access your account, take your money for sometimes, put it in his account, get interest from the bank, and then later on he return it back to your account. Has he committed an offense? So those are the issues. But sometimes, again, there's also the question of deceiving a computer system, whether a computer system can be deceived. Because under the laws, it's only the person who can be deceived. So we have to think about those issues that need to be considered. I have nothing more to add, just to concur with what has been said by our colleagues there.
Okay.
Maybe just one thing, I forgot to mention, just one thing. On the question of e-evidence, I wanted us to just look on this case. Just this case, which is very nice. This is the case from, again from, This was the case of 1989 on the question of electronic evidence, admissibility of electronic evidence. This is a very important case. I think it will still be valid after even 100 years to come. Let me just read to you what Lord Justice Lloyd was saying in this case. We accept that we accept that the base evidence rule, that is the evidence, that's the rule which requires original evidence, served an important purpose in the days of parchment and quill pens, in those days. But since the invention of carbon papers, and still more, I have underlined the word still more, the photocopier and telefax machine, that purpose has largely gone away. So we can think about that case, which really is really important when we talk of the question of amending our laws to allow electronic evidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you.